Good afternoon. Welcome. So in this session, we'll take a look at how you can visualize your marketing data and unlock new insights using Google Data Studio. I'm Ricardo Muti. I'm a product manager here at Google. And a little later, I'll hand things over to my colleague, Mary Pishney. So we have about the next 20 minutes with you. We don't have a lot of slides. We're going to be spending the majority of the time doing a live demo of Data Studio so that you walk away with a really concrete sense of how Data Studio can help you analyze and share the data that's important to your business. So we hear from a lot of organizations that are really trying to foster a data culture in their company where everyone is empowered to go and analyze their own data. Whether it's your business or your department or your campaign, if you think about it, it's your data. You're the domain expert. You're the person who's best positioned to analyze it and unlock these insights. But historically, analyzing data has been a task that requires a lot of specialized technical knowledge and skills, things like writing SQL queries. So to make data analysis accessible to everyone, there are a few challenges that we have to overcome. So number one, how do we make data analysis easy enough for everyone? It can't be writing SQL queries. It's got to be visual. It's got to be interactive. Number two, we can't anticipate every dimension, every metric, every calculation that people need. Business users and departments, they often invent their own metrics. So how can they still do that? How can they define these calculations just as they would define a formula in, say, a spreadsheet? And finally, how do we make the whole experience of visual analysis super fast? If you've ever used a data visualization tool on top of a data warehouse, say, with a lot of data in it, you know that sometimes it can be quite slow. You're waiting for results to come back. You switch away to email. You get distracted. That's not a good experience. Every time we click, we want results to come back in a second or less than a second. So enough talking about this. Let me switch to a demo and show you what I'm talking about. So here we have the Google Merchandise Store. It's an actual website where you can go and purchase Google-branded merchandise. So Google T-shirts, coffee mugs, water bottles, backpacks. And of course, we've instrumented this with Google Analytics so we can get a sense of what's going on. And we want to combine that data with other data that might be coming from Google Ads, from our inventory database, from other sources of data. So we want to land it all into something like a data warehouse, like Google Bigquery. And thankfully, Google makes this really easy. So if you're using Google Analytics, for example, there is a built-in export to Google Bigquery. I just flip a switch, enable that export, and now my data is flowing into Google Bigquery. So now I've got my data in a data warehouse. I connect to it from Google Data Studio. And I end up creating what's called a data source. This is a secure connection to my data, and it's been modeled, so you have friendly field names. This is something I can share with my users, and you're used to them going off and creating a report on top of this. But I'm going to show something a little bit different today. One thing you might notice is Google Analytics has 100 or so fields in there, and here we're only seeing a few. So I've only included a subset. And this can be a really useful technique, because not all of those fields are relevant to every audience. People in the finance department might use a small subset of the fields. People in the marketing department might use a different small subset of the fields. So here I can create sort of different perspectives of the data and share it with different audiences to make it a lot easier for them to digest and for them to use. So here, rather than create a report, imagine that I don't really know yet what type of report I want to create. I'm not really thinking about design and layout and aesthetics. I really want some sort of experience where I can just visually explore the data, see what interesting metrics and trends are in there, experiment with different ways of visualizing the data, and not have to worry too much about design or layout right now, because I can worry about that later. So rather than create a report, I'm going to go into Data Studio Explorer. It's a different part of Data Studio. It's newer, and a lot of people have not had the chance to try it yet, but you're going to get a glimpse of it today, and I encourage you to go and try it afterward. I have all my dimensions and metrics here. If I want to create a new calculated metric, that's really easy. I can just create a new calculated field here and create basic formulas like adding two things together, creating ratios by dividing different metrics, concatenate strings together, and do all those sorts of things that you're used to doing in, for example, a spreadsheet. This data set has over 100 million rows of data in it. And so again, everything that I'm going to do from now on is going to be live querying 100 million rows, and yet it's going to be super fast. So one of the techniques that I'll often use in interactive visual analysis is visualizing the same data different ways through different data visualizations. So for example, if I want to see where my customers are, I might want to visualize that on a map. So I'll just click Map. And just like that, I've live queried 100 million rows, aggregated to country level, and plotted those countries on a map, just like that. But I'm not limited to one visualization, which is good, because another really useful analytic technique is visualizing different subsets of the data or different groupings of the data different ways at the same time, side by side on the screen. So that's at the country level. What if I want to look at the city level? Beside it, I can put perhaps a bar chart, and I'll change this to be city. And just like that, these are my top cities. So obviously, we have a lot of traffic coming from our Mountain View headquarters where Google employees are testing the site, or they're buying products, or other Google fans in the area are trying the website. But interestingly, number 2 is a city called Not Set, which is, of course, not an actual city. And so what's happening in this case is we actually have an automated monitoring system that's monitoring the website. It's sending sort of fake traffic to the website to make sure that it's up and running and everything's working properly. But this is not actual human usage. So this is going to skew my analysis. So I want to filter this out. I'm not going to have to go learn SQL and figure out what a where clause is or any of that. I'm going to do this visually. And look how easy it is. I'm just going to drag city, which I was already using, up to my filter shelf here, and look at the values and say I don't want not set, so I'll filter that out. And just like that, I've filtered 100 million rows. And now that's no longer skewing my analysis. So these charts aren't just charts. They're not just pretty pictures. They are interactive, and we're making them more and more interactive each month by adding new features. So for example, imagine someone shares this with you, and you want to say, I want to sort these cities alphabetically, not by this metric, not by traffic, but alphabetically. You can sort any chart right from the chart. I'll just open this up, sort differently by city. I can sort it alphabetically, ascending or descending. But I'm just going to go back to my record count. So sorting from any chart is now something that you can do. The charts are not only automatically interactive, they're automatically linked to each other. So if I want to filter by Canada, for example, I don't actually even have to define a new filter for Canada. I already have Canada here. Well, if I know my geography, that's the United States. This is Canada. But if I'm from Canada, so that's just really bad. OK, if I click Canada, it's going to cross-filter the top cities in Canada. And now I can explore, like, what are the top cities in the US, in Spain, in France, in Germany. I named all those countries correctly. But look at the speed that I was getting from that. Each one of those came back in sub-second, even though it was querying 100 million rows. So that's cross-filtering. The reason I'm getting that speed, and time to reveal a little secret, is this is running over something called the Bigquery Bi Engine. There's not just regular vanilla BigQuery. It's got the BI engine on top. It's a new feature that's available in beta, so you can go and try it. It's an in-memory column store engine, which is a fancy way of saying that it's making all my queries super fast. So definitely go check it out. Another type of interaction that I can do is drill down right within a chart. This is something we just launched last month. I didn't do any special configuration here, but for example, if I'm looking at the city level and I want to pop back up to the country level, I can just drill up to see top countries, drill back down. If I want to drill into a specific country, I can do that. So for example, the UK, I can select that and drill down and see top cities in the UK. I can even drill into multiple cities at the same time. So imagine that I want to look at the UK, Canada, and Australia. Just select those values. I'll see them in the map, drill down, and those are the top cities in those countries. Great. So now I want to explore a couple other dimensions. So for example, I want to look at what sort of devices people are using to access the Google Merchandise Store. So for example, are they using desktop devices, laptops, phones, tablets? So I'll add a new chart to break that down. And here I'll choose my device category dimension. And so that's showing desktop, mobile, and tablet. I also want to break this down by browser. Which browser are they using on those devices? And I'll further break that down by device category as well, so that we see, are they using desktop Chrome versus mobile Chrome, for example. And we're in San Francisco, so let's apply that cross-filtering again and see in San Francisco what the breakdown looks like. Over 40% of our users in San Francisco are using mobile devices to access the store. So one question I might ask is, are Google employees in Mountain View doing a good job of testing the website using mobile devices? And the answer is no. 91% of the time, we're using desktop devices. So the insight is we need to be testing the website on mobile devices more. And this is the sort of insight that you can only discover by exploring the data. It's not available at the surface level, or it's not evident at the surface level. So then I can layer these cross-filtering together. So for example, I'm filtered by San Francisco. I can keep that filter active, and I can say, in San Francisco, on mobile devices, which browsers do people use to access my website? And I'll see that it's very neck and neck between Chrome and Safari. However, does that hold in other cities? If I look at something like Chennai in India, you'll see that it is a very different trend. It's the vast majority of people are using Chrome, and Safari actually isn't even number 2. UC browser is number 2, which we don't see a lot of in the United States. So we've been looking at browsers. It might be interesting to do some trends over time in terms of browsers that people are using. So I'll create a new tab and use a stacked area chart to show the browser share. Now, it's a little bit noisy because there's a weekly pattern. Weekdays are a little bit different from weekends. But again, I can just automatically drill up to the week level, smooth out that trend, and see what it looks like. And sure enough, there is something going on over these few weeks or these few months. So I'm going to just highlight those and still be able to drill back down and see that daily level of detail. Sure enough, something happened over here that I might want to do further analysis on. But here's an example of some of the analysis you can do. Imagine that my analysis is done now. What next? So I'll invite Mary up on stage to take it from here.
Yeah. How many people, by a quick show of hands, thought that was interesting and are ready to go try that out for their own data? Awesome. That was pretty good representation. Great. So as Ricardo said, my name is Mary Pishney. I'm also a product manager on the Data Studio team. And if we can hop back to the slides real quick. So Ricardo just took us through a really interactive analysis of our data that anyone in our organization can use. And I want to talk about what's next from there. So there's 3 things I'm going to walk you through, and I'll jump into a demo as well. One is, how can we keep that interactive viewing experience going? So all of that was really visual analysis. We want to keep that going when we share our reports with our colleagues. 2 is, how can we make sure that the view of the data that we're producing is really tailored or custom for the audience that we're sharing it with? We want to make sure that they have the right experience. And then lastly is, you've spent a ton of time analyzing the data and putting it together. How can you get through that kind of last hurdle of distributing it? So I don't want to have to spend a lot of time, we call it pinging people, saying, hey, here's this report. How can I get that data to them in the right medium for them? So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into another demo. All right. So Ricardo left us off in our Explore space, but I'm going to hop over to a new report. So what we've been looking at is our Google Merchandise Store and some of the analytics on that. Now, you can imagine that there's a team that actually runs this website for us, and they're not only looking at our site health, but also our sales health. What are we selling? How much revenue are we making? We have a snapshot of our site health, and then we also have our advertising health. So where are we spending? What's the return on that investment? Now, I put together this report to kind of bring the snapshot together, but I also might want to have kind of a more specific view that people can click into, and so they can learn a bit more. So I want to kind of have that full experience for them, the quick numbers as well as some more details. So let's go ahead and do that for our site analysis. So I'm going to hop over to this page. It's intentionally blank. And we're going to hop back to Explore. Now here, I'm going to go back to this first tab. We spent all this time bringing together this visual analysis. Now I want to actually bring that into my report. So all I have to do is hit Save. And then I'm going to say Copy to an existing report. So now this is added to my clipboard. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to paste it. Super easy. Oop, let me just move that. Let's see here. Select all of these, move these down the page. I'm going to make them a little bigger for us. So already, I could start sharing this out with my colleagues, but I want to make it interactive, as I mentioned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down this chart a little bit, and I'm going to add what we call a filter control to the page. So this allows viewers to continue to work with the data. So here, I'm going to switch this over to our data source. And we already have it set up for browser. So now when people are viewing this report, they still have that experience where they can interact, filter down the data based on Chrome, Safari, et cetera. So we've got interaction. What about making sure that it's a really tailored experience for our audience? So this is one of my favorite things. I use this in my work every day. I'm going to go ahead and make that graph a little bit smaller, and I'm going to add what we call a URL embed component to the page. I'm going to drag this down here. Now, this looks like an empty box, but what this actually lets you do is embed component from Google Docs, YouTube, a Google form. The sky's the limit. You can actually bring in additional content here to kind of create that immersive reporting experience. So analytics is an incredibly powerful tool. If you haven't worked with it in a while, you might have some questions about, how does it collect data, or what does campaign tracking mean? So instead of having to have my viewers go out and figure out those answers on their own, what I'm going to do is I found a YouTube video that talks about how an analytics collection works. I'm just going to copy this URL, hop back to my report, paste this in here. And what it's going to do is actually embed that video directly in my report. So you can imagine, again, the sky's the limit here in terms of how you want to make this a really custom experience for your viewers. I'll even just play it really quickly. You can hear it playing there. So I can actually play and embed content directly into this report, so everyone has what they need right here. How many people think that's pretty cool? Yes. Just to throw it out there, some of the other use cases that you might find helpful are, if you're creating this report, you want to understand, did people find this useful? Well, spin up a quick Google form, embed that here, and say, how useful did you find this? What do you want to see next? You can get that real-time feedback directly from your report viewers all through your report. OK, so we've made it interactive. We've customized this experience for somebody who might need some education on analytics. That last piece I wanted to tell you about was, how do I actually distribute this report out? We have a range of options for you based on your needs. So for one, I can quickly take this report and say share. And just like you're used to with a lot of other Google products, we have an easy sharing dialog where I can drop in an email address and share this out. So bread and butter sharing, super easy and fast. But this team, the Google Merchandise Store team, meets every day to do a quick review of their metrics and make sure things are trending in the right direction. I think we all kind of have some of those stand-ups. So rather than having to load the report when you get into the meeting, what we can do is we can set up a scheduled email template. And we can say, schedule this to Ricardo, schedule this to myself, and send this every day at 2 p.m. And so now we'll get this in our inbox directly where we need it. And I actually want to take a moment to show you how great this looks. So we actually sent this to ourselves to show you all here. This is what it is in the inbox, in your email inbox. And I show it to you here because this means that you can monitor things directly from your inbox. If you want to go learn more, there's a PDF download option, as well as a click through to the actual online report. But just think of the opportunity to get those numbers in front of your team in a really low effort and in a really impactful way. It's pretty cool. OK, I'm going to hop back. So we've scheduled this email. The last thing I want to show you is how I can take that distribution one step further. So this merchandise store team is really pushing themselves to be transparent, and they want kind of their broader organization to know how they're doing along the lines of revenue and site analytics and advertising health. So they actually have a just kind of a basic site that they've created, and they actually want to embed this particular report directly in the site. So normally, you would have to maybe do some extra work to get the code to actually embed this. But this is actually very simple in Data Studio. We have an embed option. All I need to do is say, in this case, I'm going to generate the embed URL. Copy that to my clipboard. And then I created a very basic Google site here. But it suits our purposes. So I can just insert that URL here. I'll add it to the page. I'll make this a little bigger so it's easier for us to see. There we go. All right, and that's going to load. Let's see here. And then I'm going to do a quick preview. So it's a little small on the screen. I'll make that a little bit bigger. But what you can see is in just a couple clicks, I can either schedule that email out so it shows up in folks' inboxes, or I can embed this in an online portal where our larger organization can come and get that information. So whatever your distribution needs are, there's an option for you that should just be a couple clicks away. Hopefully, so far, so good. So we only have a couple minutes left. So I'm going to go ahead and switch us back to the slides and talk about two more things that I want to make sure that you all are aware of. So hopefully, as we were going through this, you were thinking, OK, I can apply this to this data, or I'm excited to test this out with my Google Ads data. You also might have been wondering, well, what about our email marketing data, or what about our CRM data? How do we get that in here? So within Data Studio, we have a variety of native connectors that we've built that help you connect to Google Sheets, BigQuery, Analytics, Ads, and more, as well as what we call our community connectors. Community connectors let you connect to over hundreds of different data sets. These are connectors built by our partners that range from other advertising platforms to CRM solutions and much more. So if you're looking for more data to bring in here, check out our community connector platform. And then one last friendly plug is, if you don't see what you're looking for, you can actually build your own connector. And this is really powerful if you have a team that you want to get data to in an easy fashion. You can actually build your own and bring that to your team. OK, one more thing here. So on that same vein of how do I get all my data in, you also might have the question, how do I have the right visualization for our business? I was not 30 minutes ago talking to somebody, and they said, we need this particular type of chart. Do you have it? And the great news is that you can actually start building your own visualizations through our community visualization platform. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to bring in visualizations that are important to your business or help you really show a particular data set off. You can, just like our partner community connector program, you can also leverage what's been built by the community, or you can build your own. So I would give you guys the charge to go find a visualization that you're excited about using and bring it in through our community visualization platform. Last but not least. So at this point, this is where we tell you, normally, stay tuned. Some of these things are coming. Go sign up for a beta. Not this time. Everything that we showed you today is publicly available. Some of it's new, but a lot of this is already out there with documentation and how-tos. So if you're excited about what you saw here today, go check it out. This is all available for you now to start using things from Bigquery Bi Engine that makes your data really fast, to drill down that gives you that interactive analysis experience. So again, another piece of homework is go check out all these tools. These are available for you in Data Studio today. So with that, we want to say a big thank you. It was a jam-packed 20 minutes, but we hope you found something useful and exciting that you can bring to your team and the marketing data that you all work with. Thanks so much.